this event in 2010 in Nepal. USA loses to Singapore on day 4. Bad loss. They really got demolished. I think it was like a 99-run loss or 100-run loss. It was just not a competitive game. The atmosphere on the bus, everybody's quiet. We get to the hotel parking lot, and before everybody can get off the bus, you jump up out of the front seat, you stand up, and you've got your USA track and field jacket from like the 1970s on, and you give this incredible speech. And I wanted to like put on a USA uniform and like, get on the field in a couple of days. It was incredible. And I felt like watching the game a couple of days later and seeing how events unfolded and how the riots unfolded, I thought Don Lockerbie's speech may have sparked a riot in Nepal and Kathmandu because the USA players came out that day and had just came out with incredible energy that they didn't have a couple of days earlier. What do you remember about that speech and that sequence? And what do you remember from your perspective about how that day unfolded with USA on the way to victory and then all hell broke loose?
Peter, thanks for remembering it. Those are interesting stories. Let me just say, going back to even Toronto with the U19 team, I love those players. I love the U.S. men's national senior team too. While I was the CEO and not a coach, and I wanted to always make sure my coaches were in charge of their players, I witnessed what I felt needed to be a kick in the pants. And I'm the son of Bruce Lockerbie. I was raised to be a professional athlete by a professional athlete, and I was always given that kind of motivational, this is what you need to do today, and this is what you have to focus on. And I'm not sure those boys had been raised that way or had coaches that way, so I just want to take advantage in both of those situations that they understood how important and what a game changer this could be for their lives. I made it very clear to the under-19s that I was in the process of creating a professional team. They could make a living in this sport, but no one's going to support me if you guys go out there and lose big, and let's go out there and play like champions. And that's what I was always told. Be a champion in everything you do. The way you wake up in the morning, your nutrition, your whatever obligations are from school to work, the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you talk, everything has to be, the way a professional athlete would be. And I started with that, but it doesn't happen unless we go out there and win. In that Singapore match, going back to Nepal, we played on a very short field on a very bad pitch. And I think Singapore batted first, and they got advantage of the pitch being okay and were just slamming fours on that pitch. And by the time we got up, the pitch had totally degraded.
So the Singapore spinners just wrecked USA with the pitch deteriorating.
Yeah, we were destroyed. So that was that experience. So now here I am, and we've got to play Nepal in order to actually move to the next level. And I just made it clear, you're the most hated 20 people in this country because we can ruin Nepal's story. You've got to go out there and realize that, this is your future. This is your destiny. You got yourself here from whatever your parents, your coaches, your own desire, your destiny. But if you don't go out there today and remember that you're wearing USA on your uniform and that everybody hates you and that this fan group came to see you get destroyed. They saw or heard about Singapore. They expect the same thing out of Nepal. Now, you guys need to go out there. And if you ever watch any other professional sport, you're the dream team. I told them, you're the dream team. We could have picked 20 other guys. We picked you. The dream team in Barcelona in basketball destroyed the rest of the Olympic world. Yeah, they had the Michael Jordans. They had the great names, the Larry Birds, and they all the great players of that 1992 dream team basketball team. You're the dream team. You need to go out there and be it. There has to be total confidence. You got that USA on your uniform. I don't care where you were born. I don't care what language you speak. You are the American dream team. Go out and make it a nightmare for Nepal. And that's what you would have heard as I got those boys off the bus.
And then a couple of days later, it was a nightmare for Nepal, and it was a nightmare for the Americans at one stage in that ground too, because we didn't know if we were going to be able to get out of the stadium safely.
We're winning by a decent margin, right? If I remember correctly, rocks are being thrown onto the field by that the stadium had a nice grass grandstand around. Well, not even a grandstand, just a hill, right?
It's a terraced hill, kind of.
Terraced hill around the very nice stadium. But it had a rock wall of loose rocks that kind of was the back of the stadium. And Nepalese, God bless them, because I had enjoyed our time there, were taking rocks out of the rock wall and throwing them at our players. And at first it was kind of like funny, okay, just one or two angry guys. But then hundreds of rocks made it onto the field. And then they started throwing them at our team's bench. And our team did have a little bit of an interior area. And we had no place to go except to hide in our bench. And then the ICC called everybody off the field. And they were going to call the game on a Duckworth-Lewis, and nobody wanted that. And all of a sudden, either the Army or the Nepalese police went into the grandstands with tear gas. And as you'll recall, that tear gas went everywhere. It was making its way to our to our bench too. And by the way, I had an aunt and an uncle at the game. They had been missionaries in Bangladesh and made their way to watch the U.S. national team. And so here I have my wonderful 70-year-old aunt and her husband, my uncle, there to watch. And they'd been at all the games, and now everybody knew that it was my Aunt Jeannie and Uncle Wally, and everybody was concerned for their safety. And your safety too, Peter. And in the end, the ICC decided that we're going to finish the game. And I'll tell you, when I think about my bowlers and Usman Suja and my batsmen, and if I remember that who's our batsman from Houston who wasn't allowed to leave his job on time, and we had to fly him to get to Nepal, Ned Carney.
Social Ned Carney, yep.
That team, they gelled.
One of the mythological elements of that Nepal match, which you confirmed for me, there was tear gas. They were shooting tear gas into the crowd.
They did, without question.
What happened was, I reported it at the time. I was reporting it live, typing it out to the world. There was definitely tear gas.
No question.
No question.
The Army informed us that we should stay where we were because they were going into the stands and they were going to remove the fans. And then somebody told me, you should absolutely stay inside the building that they had for us, the dugout, because there's going to be tear gas. So we were alerted because some of our guys were standing outside watching it all.
Yeah.
And rocks were still coming close. Nobody got hit. But as I said, we had our coaching staff, we had you, we had myself and our team and my aunt and uncle in that dugout, hiding, and then the tear gas came.
So one of the communications staff from the ICC comes to me later that day or the next morning. I think it was the next morning ahead of, again, the rematch. USA then rematched Nepal in the final.
Correct.
And this staffer will remain nameless, but is no longer with the ICC. And the ICC staff currently I have a very good professional relationship with. Okay. But this staffer comes to me and says, Peter, did you report that there was tear gas shot into the crowd? And I said, yes. She says, why did you do that? And I said, well, because there was tear gas shot into the crowd. And she says, Peter, we can't have people around the world thinking that the Nepalese police and ICC tournament organizers are tear gassing fans at cricket events. She says, do you have any photos of this tear gas being shot into the crowd? I said, no. She says, so you don't really have any evidence that there was any tear gas, do you? I said, well, I mean, I've got a lot of witnesses who can vouch for it. She says, yeah, but you don't have any actual photographic evidence or clear documentation, do you? I said, no. And she said, well, I think you need to delete that then, because otherwise you may struggle to get accreditation at future events. And I was just like, ah.
So, I had pictures, Peter. So, we still have pictures.
I know there are pictures out there. There are pictures that exist. I know there are, but I didn't have my hands on them at the time, so I very, very reluctantly.
In the end, The police did what they had to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I had no trouble with the tear gas, frankly. I wanted the game to be finished. I did not want to lose on or win on a technicality.
Yeah.
And if that's what it took, that's what it took. And I will tell you also after that game, remember the bus ride home. We were escorted by about 5,000 angry fans who were banging on the bus and unhappy, and until the police outriders on their motorcycles could get us away from the stadium.
Oh, they were completely
Yeah,
useless.
we were the most hated people. But let me make it very clear. I loved working with the Nepalese Cricket Federation. They were great people. They couldn't have been more gracious to all the teams. And I really, really had a wonderful time there. And to me, it's just a great story.